was nice while it lasted. The Kings had a 2-game win streak, and now we're back to not doing very well. I will say we played with slightly more dignity than we have in several of our other losses. It was a 3-1 loss, but since the last one was an empty net with like 2.9 seconds to go, 2-1, pretty close. Last time we played the Wild, it was 4-1 and quite embarrassing, so we put up a better stand, and we're much better in the neutral zone, but still just not enough. Did not have quite what it took offense-wise to be able to get a couple of points, or at least even 1 point in this game. So that was disappointing, but I guess kind of to be expected. So the game actually opened with a tribute to some of our fallen friends in Thousand Oaks who were the victims of gun tragedy last night. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but it was a beautiful tribute. The players from both the Kings and the Wild, the hero of the game, the anthem singer, even some of the crew had some specialty designed posters in their hands, and for the entire game on their helmets they had the word enough. So that's really all I'm going to say about that. It was a very somber beginning to the game. And then the Kings came out swinging, just like they had against the Ducks, and the energy greatly increased, helped quite a bit by Jake Muzzin's goal, about 5 minutes in. This is the third time in a row the Kings have scored first. I know. Crazy. A nice little wrister here, assisted by Alec Martinez, two of the defensemen that I've been hearing in trade talks. So can we keep both of them, please? It just makes me nervous that either one of them are in the mix. But again, given today, we do need some offense, so we may have to give away some of our defense, because that was the only goal the Kings scored. Granted, Dubnyk is really good. The Kings had 9 shots on goal to their 2, or 10 shots to their 2, about halfway through the first period. And it wasn't that they weren't getting good chances. It's just that Dubnyk was the better goalie of the game. He's pretty world-class, Dubnyk. He was getting some great looks from Kovalchuk, from Brown, from Doughty, from Kempe. There were a lot of really exciting things the Kings were doing, some very impressive sequences. Their chemistry looked good, but they just weren't getting by Dubnyk. And then a power play goal from them that was pretty obvious it was coming, tied the game, and just took a little bit of steam out of the Kings. It was... Campbell had been scrambling by the front of the net on a delayed call on the penalty, and then it just didn't really let up throughout the entire penalty kill, and it didn't take them very long to get past him. He was not being aided very well, and there was too much of a Wild presence, and they were too good not to get one past him. So the Kings kind of barely made it through the first period after that. And it seemed like their momentum really died in the second period when the Wild got their second goal. Didn't help that Carter started the period on a penalty, about a minute and a half into it. So the Kings were kind of starting from behind in the second period. It also doesn't help that the Wild are going into the game, 6-3-1 when their opponent has scored first. So like the Kings of 16-17, they were incredibly good at battling back, and that's exactly what they did. Their goal came when Phaneuf kind of lost his guy and lost the puck there, and so 2-1, the Kings just weren't getting the quality chances that they had been getting in the first period. They really did come out incredibly strong, and they looked great. The Carter, Kovalchuk, Toffoli line looks fantastic. Tanner Pearson still looks like he's snake-bitten. I don't know what it's going to take for him to break through. Kempe has a lot of the speed, but again, still hasn't quite figured out what to do with the speed when he gets there. Hoping that a new coach can come and work that. But yeah, the second goal there and the Kings being a little out of place, they just couldn't quite seem to get back on track. Like I said, they were much better in the neutral zone than they have been, But they let the Wild kind of ride over them a little bit for the rest of the second and for most of the third period too. That was kind of the story of the game. Their looks they were getting at Dubnyk weren't as great as they were in the beginning, and if they weren't going to capitalize then, it didn't look like they were ever going to. And sure enough, not even the presence of Chris Sutter could bring them out of their slump. But guys, Chris Sutter was there! Yay! I totally missed his whole dance cam. Oh, I could not get my phone out fast enough to record that. I didn't know it was going to be there. So disappointing. They did get a power play right after Chris Sutter was on the dance cam there. So, you know, they got some bit of a lift from him. You know, Chris Sutter always brings us good luck. But as usual, their power play, it just wasn't good enough. I mean, the players got out of position a lot more than they usually do. Well, they're always out of position. They're never good on the power play. But if this were a 5-on-5 situation, they would not have been as out of position as they were. It was weird. Kopitar and his top power play unit, despite there being a stoppage in play about a minute into it, did not leave the ice for 1 minute and 48 seconds of the power play. Like, I get you want to use your best guys. They're averaging, or they were going into this game, for every 20 minutes they're on the power play, they're averaging 9.5 goals. It's the best in the league, their power play unit. They're incredible. And I get that, but that's a long time to be on the ice, even when you have the man advantage. And it showed by the end of it, and it was kind of a waste a little bit there. Kopitar wasn't having his best night, unfortunately. It was a little hit and miss with him. So that didn't go anywhere. They pulled Campbell. We had a delayed penalty with about 2.5 minutes left, and so they pulled Campbell and they controlled most of the puck, but they just couldn't get it past the neutral zone there before the Wild took control of it. And so with 1:56 left, they had the 5-on-4. They quickly made that 6-on-4, but just couldn't quite get it. Doughty stops the empty net goal with about 30 seconds left by taking a huge hit to the body. And we thought maybe that would be enough to spur the momentum back down to the other end, but nope, it just was not happening. It was not the Kings' night. 2.9 seconds to go. They got the empty nets, making it look worse than it was. But really, they just didn't have it against a team that is pretty good. And these are the kind of teams that the Kings are going to need to start playing to. Now that they have a new coach, you know, they don't really have an excuse anymore. So yeah, it's going to take them a couple of games to fit in and gel and whatever, but they're going to need to play more than just the first period with the gusto that they had in the first period. So yeah, some things to work on, but essentially a 2-1 game against a good team. Considering that the other teams in the league tonight had scores that were like 5-2 and 8-5 and very high scoring games, I will say kudos to our defense. Really picked up some slack tonight. Campbell was looking good, but as always, the Kings need offense and they haven't found it yet. So things to work on. I will leave you with not some Chris Sutter dance cam because, like I said, I missed it. But I do have some Chris Sutter saying yay. And so, you know, if Chris Sutter can get us that excited, then good things are going to come.